From the next big star to a tradable asset, what happened to Pascal Siakam? Quickly before we get the video started, if you guys enjoyed this video and want to see more NBA content just like this one, hit that subscribe button and that post notification bell. Anyways, back to the video. Pascal Siakam was drafted number 27 overall in the 2016 NBA draft by the Toronto Raptors. Going into the NBA, a lot of people saw this guy coming over from Cameroon as a very raw prospect that definitely had the potential to be something in the NBA, but currently at that point he wasn't necessarily all that, and he was definitely a project going into the NBA, which is the reason why he was drafted number 27 overall. But at the same time, the fact that Siakam was drafted in the first round number 27 overall without having too much actual skill and really development, it just shows you the true amount of talent that this guy really had. The fact that an NBA team was willing to use a first round pick on a guy who didn't necessarily have a ton of skill going into the NBA, but they saw what he could potentially be after bringing them into their program. And in Siakam's rookie season, he definitely proved that he was a work in progress, only averaging 4.2 points per game on only 15 minutes per game in his rookie season. The season after that, he made a little bit of improvement, bringing up his numbers to 7.3 points per game. While still it's not amazing, it is an improvement. And then after that is really where things changed for Siakam. He went from 7.3 points per game in the 2017 NBA season to all the way up to 17 points per game in the 2018 NBA season on 54% shooting from the field. And each and every season after that, he continuously got better. So what does this tell you about Siakam? I mentioned this in a lot of my videos, but when a player gets better each and every season, what that tells you is during each and every offseason, they're putting in a tremendous amount of work, and the same can be said for Siakam. To improve your game each and every season is very difficult. Whenever you start to get to that certain level of skill and talent that Siakam was getting at once he was averaging 17 points per game, the defense starts to focus on you a little bit and really tries to figure you out. So to get better each and every season is very difficult to do, and Siakam was able to do that. And obviously, as I mentioned before in the video, that crazy jump Siakam had from the 2017 NBA season, averaging 7 points per game, to the 2018 NBA season, averaging almost 17 points per game on a pretty efficient 55% shooting from the field as well, got Siakam rewarded with the most improved player that season. And at that point, a lot of people were starting to see Siakam as one of the next players that could be up in this NBA. And at that point, everything was going very well for Siakam. All the hard work that Siakam has been putting in ever since he's gotten into the NBA was finally starting to pay off. Siakam was seeing an increase in every stat possible: points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game. He was obviously seeing a lot more minutes as well. He was getting a lot of recognition from other players playing with him, playing against him, a lot of NBA fans. A lot of people were starting to think that Siakam was one of the best up-and-coming players we do have in the NBA, and that was reflected in the top players under 25 list, where Siakam was ranking very highly in those lists. Things overall were just going very, very well for Siakam after winning Most Improved Player. But let's quickly take apart Pascal Siakam's game to really see why he was improving so much in the NBA. So of course, Siakam's main ability was definitely his driving and finishing ability. When Siakam would be able to get downhill and just get all the way to the basket, he was basically unstoppable. Nobody could stop him. He was putting up some pretty crafty layups around the basket. He wasn't necessarily a guy who's going to push or ice dunk you, but he was just a guy who was very long and very athletic that could kind of just move you out of the way and just put up some very crafty layups once he got to the basket, which was obviously very effective for him as he did most of his damage in the paint. Now, one thing that Siakam really worked on ever since he's gotten into the NBA was his shooting ability in general. His mid-range shooting ability was definitely much improved. In the season he won Most Improved Player, he was able to hit pretty consistent mid-range shots, either catch and shoot shots, pull up mid-range jump shots, some post turnaround fadeaways. He wasn't necessarily all there yet in terms of that, but overall his mid-range game was pretty refined at that point and was pretty effective and pretty good. But now talking about Siakam's three-point shooting ability, this is definitely something that he's gotten better at, but still isn't great at, and even to this day he's not great at it. But Siakam is able to hit catch and shoot three-point shots, and that's basically about it. Maybe from time to time he can hit some step backs or sidestep three-point shots, but that's not really where he does his bread and butter. He's really just a catch and shoot three-point shooting guy. Maybe he can do a little bit of a crossover into a three-point shot, but that's really it. He's not completely all there and really at the point he would like to be in terms of his three-point shooting ability, at least yet up until this point. Hopefully in the future he will improve, but at this point he's not completely there yet. But overall, coming from where he came from coming into the NBA as someone who's not really refined and mostly just relied on his athleticism to finish around the basket, to a guy who actually had a pretty refined game getting to the basket, but now he added the ability to actually shoot. So now he could shoot mid-range shots and also three-point shots. Siakam was really turning into quite a refined player, which is very good to see and very scary to see for opposing teams going forward. But even after Siakam tasted some success in terms of actually winning the most improved player back in the 2018 NBA season, he didn't necessarily completely give up on his work ethic. And in the 2019 NBA season, he improved even more, bringing his game up from 17 points per game to almost 23 points per game, and also a pretty efficient 45% from the field. Now, 45% from the field is pretty efficient, but when you consider that he was shooting 55% the season before, you see a 10% drop, you say, what's going on? Why did his efficiency numbers drop so low? Now, I think this is more so due to the fact that Siakam was kind of extending his range out to that three-point range and shooting more jump shots. But obviously another reason, in my opinion, why Siakam's efficiency numbers went down was the season before Kawhi Leonard actually left, or the offseason before that, I should say, and now Siakam was a main guy. So in the past, they were mainly focusing on Kawhi Leonard and secondarily to Siakam. But now they were mainly focusing on Siakam, which definitely had an effect on his efficiency numbers. And I think this is really the start where we started to see a few issues with Siakam's game. When it came down to the playoffs for Siakam, and now Siakam was a main guy for the first time in the NBA playoffs, and the other teams could really focus on you completely, we started to see some issues. The main issue with Siakam was he was just way too predictable. He would drive to the basket way too much, and once he would get to the basket, he would do that same spin move every time he got to the basket. He did it so much, there's so many memes made about it, it's crazy the amount of times he actually did it. And now in the playoffs, when a team can specifically focus on you and on your team for at the very least 4 games, they're gonna know your tendencies and know what you're doing and make it a lot harder on you. And after that mostly poor playoff performance from Siakam, the public opinion was starting to change. Before, as I mentioned before in the video, people were starting to say that Siakam was maybe one of the best young players up and coming, but after that playoff performance, a lot of people were starting to question if that was true, and if Siakam was actually one of the brightest young players we have going forward. After that playoff performance in the next season and the last season we just played, Siakam definitely had a pretty bad season. When you actually look at the numbers, they're pretty good numbers, averaging 21 points per game, 7.2 rebounds, 4.5 assists, on 45% shooting from the field. That's definitely pretty good numbers, although the efficiency numbers, you would like to see him get that up a little bit. But although, once again, 45% shooting from the field is not terrible, it's not amazing, but it's not terrible. But the biggest thing about these numbers is he actually didn't see progression from the season before. He actually saw some regression for the first time in his career. So as I mentioned before in the video, Siakam was working tremendously hard ever since he's gotten into the NBA to really get to the point where he's at now in terms of actually getting a pretty big paycheck, being a pretty big star in the league, and just a great up-and-coming player. But ever since he's gotten there, the previous season before that, it seems like his work ethic has definitely taken a hit. There's definitely been a few reports out that Siakam is not working as hard as maybe he otherwise should have or used to be, and maybe we saw that in his play within this last season, and maybe he lost some of that fire that he did have previous. Now, this could be due to other issues. Maybe he doesn't like playing for the Raptors. There's been a few issues with him and the Toronto Raptors coaching staff. I don't know, maybe he just wants to change the scenery from the Raptors and then he'll gain that fire back, because it's pretty clear that Siakam's mentality is definitely pretty different from what it was previous. But either way, I think the main issue with Siakam is just he's too predictable. He has to really get in the gym and work tremendously hard to find new parts of his game. Work on his jump shot, make his three-point jump shot a little bit more efficient. Although he could shoot a three-point jump shot, it's not that efficient at this point. Definitely work on that. Work on some other moves, maybe some post moves, maybe some other moves driving to the basket, get a post turnaround fadeaway, make that a little bit better. Maybe get a little bit more of a pull-up jump shot, maybe a little bit of a floater, which he has a little bit, but maybe perfect that. Add some other moves to your game. Don't be so predictable driving to the basket every single time with the spin move. And once he's able to do that, I think he could really take his game to the next level. But if he doesn't do that, I think he's basically going to stay at the point that he is currently. Maybe even get a little worse over time once other NBA teams truly figure him out. But we'll see what happens with Pascal Siakam going forward. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you guys think Pascal Siakam isn't as good as he used to be? And if so, why do you guys think that is? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and if you did enjoy, please leave a like and subscribe and hit that post notification bell. It really helps me out a lot. Until the next time, peace out, guys.